Welcome everyone, Snagrafats here. Going to be recording my first video in a new series. We're going to call it the Sharon Center Challenge. What I'm doing with this is I am going to start out on a plot of land that I made with just a house and a barn, and in some cases a garage. I did that for 4 of the properties on the map that were available. And those properties are 16, 17, 18, and 19. We'll go to the map and take a look. So if you go to 16, 17, 18, and 19, and spoiler alert, I already did a spin the wheel and I ended up with 16. So what I did was I just randomly made those properties with some houses for a check-in point and for a sleep trigger, and then put a house and a nice barn on them. I'll go show you those in a second. Now what the ultimate goal here is you're going to start out with a line of credit loan from Sox Way Up. And with that line of credit, I kind of already went through and did the let's go to that. I already went through the used vehicle sales and already picked out some things that I wanted to start with: a tractor, a truck, um, a trailer for grain, a harvester, grain header, corn header, so that I can do some contracts. And the point of the contracts is to get to a farm, of which I built the farms. So let's go out here into the flight mode real quick, and we will go look at all of the farms that I made, and we will look at the properties that I made. I got to try to remember. Okay, so here was 19. See, I put some flowers in there to mark it off for when we're in this situation. So I just made a simple barn, pole barn, a farmhouse, and a garage in this case, just to park a truck, of which I don't even have a truck bought, but eventually I would like to buy a nice truck. And then I had 18 over here, and 17, and 16 across the street. So this one already had a garage attached, that's why I didn't add a garage to that one. And so what I did was I totaled what the cost of, I think it's half when you sell the buildings, and what those total of the buildings were plus the property. Put this together. Took quite a while. So it was, I'm sorry, it was 14,000 for that land. It was very cheap land. And then with all of the buildings included, it was a total of $52,930. And so let's go to the actual farms. So what I did was there was 3 farms on the map. We'll start over here just because it's the closest. This is farm 22, which well, I screwed up and made that one 23, so I gotta fix that one. But that's farm 22. And then farm 22 was going to be a sheep farm. So I basically just added a few things in wrong. So this is the pig farm. Anyway, let's just say that's the pig farm, which I'm gonna have to fix that in a little bit here. And you see there's some storage, just like base game, except I added a pig farm on, or I added a pigsty on that one, and I believe it was 250 pigs for that one. Now we will go over here to 23, which I think I mistakenly called 22. Yeah, I had these backwards, but this is the sheep farm. And this was, I only think I added the sheep pen, this barn here, and then I added this pole barn here. And then I changed the silos, and I added this silo. mostly for ease of the game, just because that's going to be easier to get in and out instead of having to use the conveyors. I do like using the conveyors, but they tend to run slow. This way I can input and output things because there's going to be some big fields here. That was the other thing that I added in. So for this field here, I added 2 and 1, fields 2 and 1. So this field here will have to be purchased, and this field here will have to be purchased. So if this is confusing, what my goal is to do contracts. I'm cultivating contracts or harvesting contracts. There's probably not going to be much else on here. Maybe some mowing contracts, and then build myself up to get to what the values of the properties are. So I already valued in what each property is worth with the included farmlands. So that's going to be the actual farm itself in this case, the fields, and then all the buildings included. And so I have them at 1.9, 1.969, and 1.149 for the different farms. $1 million, $1.149 million. And then the main farm that usually comes with the map when you load into Sharon Center is this one over here. And you can see I changed this around quite a bit. I added the big cow barn over here, just dairy cows. I took out the silo and added this silo in. I moved the buyable lime fertilizer and liquid herbicide and fertilizer over here. I left this pole barn. I left this pole barn. I added this pole barn for storage. I just left the garage, a shed, whatever you want to call that, and the main house. So those are all the same. And I can added a little bit of filled in some of the area up here just to make it look a little more farm-like. I thought that the open gravel was just a little too much. I like the open gravel, but it's just a little too much. Just for reference, I am from Ohio, so that's why I'm doing this map. I'm actually from the Northwest Ohio area, Toledo-ish area, and so not too far away from this area. I actually grew up still in Northwest Ohio, but more south of here in farmland country. I didn't do any farming as a kid. I just helped out the farmers of friends of mine's families that had farms, hay baling and straw baling and things like that. We had tractors growing up, but they were just some small Alice Chalmer WDs, nothing major. I grew up on in the city, and then we moved to the country on 5 acres. So I'm not really much of a farmer. I just really like farming. I guess we'll get a quick look into what my settings are going to be here. This is that line of credit. So I went ahead and determined that I was going to use $400,000 as my line of credit, which I already took that money out. And you can see I got $72,000 left with all the equipment I bought, and that includes buying the land. I also have that net worth tracker from Sock's Way Up. You can see my net worth is below zero. So we're going to have to start doing some contracts, get our money back up so that we are in better shape. Our line of credit monthly payment is $4,440 for a total of 10 years, but obviously we're going to try to get that done a little faster. Go into the settings and show you where we're at on the settings. Let's see, let's get that time scale. Once we take it off, will that be at 5? We're on economic difficulty of hard, so those contracts are probably going to be a little low. Although I noticed that sometimes the harvesting contracts are a little higher. I might adjust the contracts to be a little higher. We're on seasonal growth, or I'm sorry, I'm on a little lower, a little more difficult, not such high harvesting contracts. I notice they tend to be out of control sometimes. I do have on the like a contract boost mod as well. Seasonal growth on, days per month 1 right now. That could change. Snow on, crop destruction is on, periodic plowing is on, Field stones are off just because that's a pain in the butt. Weeds on, obviously. Disaster on. Dirt normal. Just the normal settings here. Fuel usage I have set to low, and the reason I have set to low is because I have that mod that counts against your hours for your fuel usage, and I tend to run out of a lot of fuel, so which I think is realistic. But I keep it at low because otherwise I'm be filling up all the time. Nothing's worse than being in the field and having to try to figure out how you're going to get fuel or head out real quick. And we will use AI workers. I'm going to leave maintenance cost at 100%, paint cost at 100%. The enhanced loan system. So when we go to, when we get a high enough amount where we think we're good to go, we're going to use a loan. And we'll probably do the maximum of 20 years. I have multiple special payments per year on, so if we want to pay more, we do have that used tire mod on here, and precision farming will be on as well. Let's see. So when we go into, I have a lot of mods, so when we go into that contract boost, this is where I'm probably going to fidget with that a little bit if I find that the harvesting contracts are getting a little too out of hand, which I tend to notice that they do sometimes. So just so everybody knows, I do use a controller. I am on a computer, obviously. And I do have a steering wheel, but I probably won't use it. I use it for some of the buttons because it's right here at my hands. But for the most part, I will be using the controller and the mouse. And if I get some of those spins, it's because one of my controllers is, well, probably just generally needs a new one. But right now it's what I have. I have two of them. Use PlayStation controllers because I was on PlayStation. I switched to PC and now I'm on PC. Generally for everything, including Call of Duty and whatever else. Used to be an Xbox guy, but then I switched to PlayStation, and we're going to follow the rules here and go through this little part of town here. I think this is pretty cool, little feature. I forget the name of the person who made this map. I think it was 4B Gaming or something like that, maybe, or I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up. I hate to not give credit who's due there. But again, being from Ohio, this is the only Ohio map out here, so I think it's pretty cool. That's why I'm using it. So again, I did do the spin the wheel. That's how I ended up with 16. I just did a quick wheel spin, as I'm sure everybody's seen that on YouTubers following them. And here's ours. Oh, and I got the sign here. I'm gonna delete that sign because I had to put my driveway in there. And just to not spoil it, I'm not going to tell you which farm we selected that we're working for. Eventually I will. I can't get these doors to open. Why are they not opening? Well, that's not good. Why are the doors not opening? I should own the property. Does it give me the triggers? This might not be good. I bet the triggers are going to be gone because I lets me into the house, but is the triggers in the house on this one maybe? I didn't even look at that, honestly. Oh, there's the trigger. There's the sleep trigger. Alright, so I have triggers, so maybe I'm just not getting the doors to work. And if it bothers you if I jump into third person or first person, just let me know in the comments. I can change that down the road. Not getting the doors to work. That's not a good first step here. This might be a go out and come back in because I might have to replace the barn. Fixed up the Hmm. See if I can open it. I think there's a service door. Maybe there's not a service door on this one. I guess there's not. Well, run into a snafu right off the bat. Let's see if this side will work. Alright. I am going to take a pause here, and I'm going to see if we can't get that to work before we go get our other equipment. And I will be right back. Alright, we are back. You may have noticed that the time has changed a little bit, and you also may have noticed that we already have the truck back. And we are delivering other equipment to our farm with the Follow Me mod. And I guess the UPS truck wanted to go around me. This is going to be interesting. Let me get my slashers on here. So we're going to get the 6-meter grain header and New Holland combine back, along with the case IH 7250 Pro, I believe it is. With an auger wagon. And so I figured out what was wrong with the barn. The barn was in field 4. So I had all of the map as my farm so that I could get everything set up. And when I placed the barn, I placed it apparently in field 4 because there's a lot of grass area that's not part of the field on this map. And so that's why I wasn't able to control it. So I had to move the barn. You can see my cash is a little lower because I lost half of what it cost to replace the barn. But I would have to say that at $56,000 we're going to be all right. I went in, finagled a little bit with the contracts. Honestly, I didn't go back and look and see if they had fixed themselves. But they were looking decent, but then a couple of them were way overpriced. So we'll get these back and we'll get a contract. We might set the speed of the game down to 2 or 3, depending on the size of the contract I do at this point. So the basis of this is that we live in Ohio, won the lottery, did something, had some money, were able to get a line of credit for 400 grand to start getting some equipment. Our ultimate goal is to get into big farming, which is extremely expensive. Thus the reason the $1.9 million for these properties. And so with that being said, we are going to take advantage of some of these farm fields, rent our equipment out for contracts, and this is going to be difficult. And try to earn our way into actual farming. And will this header fit into this barn? Yes, it will, with no problem. So the vehicles that were available, this was a non-starter. This was the one I was considering, but I thought, this is just too overpowered to start out. I kind of like the old getting started tractor. I think that's cool. 7250 Pro is a pretty cool tractor. The 6M was okay, but it was low horsepower. This was available, but obviously way out of price range and would have just been too much for this. This was a consideration actually for a second tractor, 190 horsepower. Ultimately, I decided against it. I didn't feel we needed that. I decided that the truck and the grain tractor, I'm sorry, the truck and the And then the grain cart was what I wanted to go with. Really not much else on the used market that's really going to be good in this map. It's not a lot of grass. This was another idea that I had, but then I thought, this is a little too overpowered with the horsepower. Um, so you see, I went with that header that was there. It's probably going to be, I'm kind of guessing it's going to be a little bit struggling with both the grain header and the corn header that I chose. Not much else. T8, I don't think that was on there when I started. I think that happened when I was messing around with OBS and forgot to pause the game or put the game back to 0 time, so that popped up. But again, that's a little high on the horsepower. That's something more that I would want when I actually have the farm and have multiple tractors, multiple equipment on there. So yeah, that's what's on. That's what's left on the market. This was kind of something that I was thinking, but then I noticed that I didn't realize I had this mod in here. I like this Vultra planter just as a planter, just because it's nice 11 meters, and it's also a direct drill. But I see that it does wheat and barley and all of the grains that are normally in there, so it does it like everything. And I don't really care for that, so I decided not to go with that one. Um, I played a lot of hours in this game, and I do cheat, I guess you'd say, or use these types of equipment again, because like Socks Way Up says, I play the way I like to play, but to try to keep this a little more realistic, I wouldn't go with something like that right now. So I am going to try to keep this as realistic as possible, as Clutch likes to say, realistic-ish. So let's jump in here. I know there's going to be a contract out there that we can go for. And harvesting. Okay, so there's one of the. It's a big field, 100 acres, $163,000. The chances of me getting that done in one day are probably going to be slim and none. This one is a canola contract, 15 acres. That's probably about the most realistic thing we're going to do today. So I'm going to go ahead and take that contract. It's $25,000, and then whatever we make on top of that in canola. But it is, again, hard economy, so it's not going to make very much. I don't have anything for fertilizing. I don't have anything for liming. I'm going to probably take the liming out of there. I'm probably going to turn that off if I have it as a mod. I think it's just a mod that I could have in there. I always notice that they're just so overpowered for price. $385,000 is just insanely ridiculous. You do about 2 or 3 liming contracts and you can pretty much wipe out your challenge. So I don't really think that's a good idea. These are some pretty big fields, so I suppose those are probably good on the price. I did change the contract back to the setting back to, I think, 1 total, so that'll keep the contracts a little bit more reasonable. And again, if we're not making enough money to get there to the point where we can get a good loan and buy the property and get started on a farm, then we might up the contracts a little bit or take it off a hard economy and move to normal, just so we can keep things moving along. We don't want to be on here for 1,000 episodes or even 50 or 60 episodes if I can even keep that stamina. But all right, we will move over to 1. So now we're going to move all the way back over to 1. Probably either go do that on a time lapse or a jump cut to get back over to 1 and start the harvest. Get the truck over there, the grain header. I'll probably do the follow me. It'll be at 15 miles an hour with the corn or with the harvester, because it drives really slow. So everything else will have to go as slow as it. But we'll see you over there. Okay, we are back. Get out a little bit here. That's a loud combine. So we are going to see how fast this bad boy will go. Oh, let me take off the straw swath. Oh boy, it's going to be pushing hard on this header. Well, this ought to be interesting. Alright, welcome back from the time lapse. As you can see, we do not have the same combine that we had when we started. And that was simply because that combine harvester, the New Holland, would be fine on like a Zorch one tile challenge or some small start from scratch farming. But on this map, that is not going to work at 4 meters. So I got this modded Gleaner. I went with the N7, a little bit higher capacity, dual wheels, 6-meter Gleaner header, grain header. I have the 6-meter corn header that I'll just use. I'm assuming it'll connect. We will see soon enough. And we'll go from there. But this map's too big. Fields are too big for 4-meter header. I don't want to be here all day, every day, trying to do this. We're never going to get done. Now the next test is going to be whether or not this truck or this trailer will... I'm going to have to go around the other side because of this. I do have the mod that allows you to block the trailer, which I probably have to use, but just swing around on this one, put it in the last bin. I don't know if this grain trailer is going to put the items where I need to put it. So that'll be interesting, but we'll go ahead and do that right now and go deliver that. And why won't my... There we go. Pushing the wrong buttons. Get this out of the way. And I will probably return and put this equipment away off camera. Over here, let's get some lights on. Let's get some flashers on. I probably need to turn the traffic back on. I turned that off when I was trying to run the grain header before. Get that turned back on. Did manage to remove the sign from out of our driveway. Hopefully this convey all trailer, I've never used it before. It's probably a root crop trailer or something like that, but it did say it was for all the grain, so I believe it was a mod. And I do believe I said that this mod was by 4B Gaming. I believe it's tonymif Gaming or tonymif. I have watched some of his videos. And I think this is his first dive into a map, if I'm not mistaken. I thought I saw a video about that. Maybe from DJ Goham or one of those guys, but cool map. It's a good map. Nice wide open. Kind of has a few hills in it. It's not just plain. It's kind of the big farming, kind of like what he said from the 70s or the 80s. It's kind of my era. Kind of showing my age there. But yeah, before housing developments took over and farmland disappeared. Alright, this is going to be over here somewhere, I believe. I'll just have to figure this out. So hopefully I don't have to time lapse this with circus music, because that could be a possibility with this trailer and having not really played on this map a whole lot. That might be it right here. That's not gonna... Oh, yep, that is it. It is dumping it. Cool. And I'm not getting any money, so that means that it's going into... And I see the delivery... I see the contract is going up. Oh, this is going to be a long one. Yeah, this will probably be a time lapse or a jump cut here as well. So I will see you when I get back. Let's see. I think I have to keep... What do I got to do here? Well, I got to get my F1 key. There we go. So yeah, you have to keep pipe out, each pipe out for the. Yeah. Or O on the keyboard for you keyboard warriors. All right, all the way up to 92, 93. Won't have to jump cut or time lapse this. It's going pretty fast. Number 6. What is there? 8? 1? Is there 8 bins? It's kind of a unique trailer. I don't know if this is in real life with this type of trailer, or maybe you can post in the comments. Let me know. Yep. That looks like it's going to be the end. Oh, there goes our money. How much are we going to get for that? $5,734. Pipe in. In real life, we'd be hitting that building, but we won't count that. All right. I am going to take the truck back to the house since we're right here. Put the cover back on. I'll get the traffic turned back on. There's my house, right around the corner from us. Got our barn, needs to get some lights out here. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. Before we do that, I will run over and I will show you this farm in the dark that's across the street, because now I'm curious as to whether or not that barn is off the property as well. Which, this is my red one with the garage, little house. I have the trigger right here. I know this one you couldn't go in. Let's look on the map and see if this is out of the. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's out of where it should be. Well, maybe not. Where does 9 go? Oh, maybe not. Maybe 17 was good. And maybe it was just my land. Maybe 18 was the same. Yeah, 18 probably the barn was out. And then 19 over here, this whole plot was, I know that was good. So 18 and 16, I put the barns too close to that field, and that field for, yeah, that field for. So, all right, anyway, that's going to do it for this episode. I'm at an hour and a half of recording on this one, so after editing, it's going to be a long video. Had a few mistakes. Got field 1 harvested, delivered. We're up to 37,000, $20,000 on the contract. So we're going to be up to, after it does auto save here, 25 and 37. What are we going to be at? 50, $62,000. So that'll be good. That'll definitely keep us up where we need to be. I like that grant. I like that harvester, that gleaner harvester. Get that back and put away. I like that case. I don't know how it's going to do pulling that big cultivator. If we get a cultivating contract, it might be a little slow, but we can handle that because we probably won't do too many cultivating contracts. Probably be mostly harvesting, although it looks like some of these fields are already harvested, so we'll have to see what's available in September. I'm sure there will be some, hopefully some soybean contracts, and then move on into corn in the next couple months after that. And we'll see how this goes. Get us up to hopefully like $500,000 or more, maybe $750,000, and then maybe we can get out a loan depending what the enhanced loan mod will do. But we got to get equipment as well, so we might have to go a little higher. We may have to get up to $1 million. We'll have to see how that goes. See what the contracts look like. See whether they're going to change the economy. But yeah, stick around. This should be fun. Again, this is going to be contracts going to to buying a farm in my area. Like I said, from my hometown, where he's got this map is probably an hour and a half away down the old 224. Um, maybe not even that. Maybe an hour and 15, hour and 20, something like that. But anyway, thanks for checking out the video. Hope you come back for more. All right. Thanks for watching.